What's up, everybody, and welcome into another episode of Goal Line Dynasty. Today, Tyler and I are getting into a Superflex startup, 15 rounds, nice and standard. We've been doing a lot of 1QB content lately, and trust me, I love 1QB, but I feel like it's been a little while since we've done a full-on Superflex Dynasty startup, so that's what we're going to get into today. But before we start the video, Tyler, how we doing, buddy?
I'm great. It's officially startup season because there's not very much else to do. So, we're waiting on, training camp and all that fun stuff. We've been seeing some OTA, little highlights, but everybody looks good, So, excited to hop in.
Absolutely. Well, without further ado, let's get this draft started. So, third round reversal, Superflex. I'm taking the 1-5. Tyler is taking the 1-10. And here we go. We are underway. We've got Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, and Jalen Hurts go 1 through 4. It looks like Justin Herbert went 103. Definitely a little early for my liking, but 105. 105, I knew I was going to be taking either Joe Burrow or Justin Jefferson. I would personally take Justin Jefferson over Justin Herbert. Probably a bold take, but that's my take. But Joe Burrow is undeniably a top 4 pick for me. 5 ways from Sunday. So I'm going to take Burrow at 105 and be pretty content with that.
Yeah, anyone in the top 5 I'm happy with. I mean, I would have probably argued for Justin Herbert at the 1-5 or 6. I think that is a little bit early for him, but that's about where he was going last year. I think he's undervalued right now, but I don't think anybody's taking him at the 1-3. Here, T-Law fell into my lap, so I'm going to take my easy start there, and wow, Garrett Wilson goes before AJ Brown. So I have a couple different options. I could go AJ Brown, could go a little bit younger and go Amon-Ra or Waddle. Could go quarterback room. I don't agree really. I don't really want to take Anthony Richardson this high. I don't like committing this early. This is my second round startup pick to a rookie quarterback whose floor is so low. I also don't like starting off with, Brees or JT or Saquon really because, they all have at least little question marks. Saquon's aging. JT is getting there to be a contending asset. Brees is coming off that ACL tear. I think A.J. Brown is the safest pick. I'm going to go with A.J. Brown.
Yeah, I think A.J. Brown would have been my pick there too. And honestly, not that surprised that Garrett Wilson went before A.J. Brown. They're kind of 4A and 4B in a lot of people's rankings right now. So I think it just kind of depends on which side of the coin you're flipping there. But yeah, getting A.J. Brown to pair with T-Law, that's pretty amazing. Now, here I am, 208. I have Joe Burrow. Amon-Ra St. Brown is still there. And you know me, I'm not a massive Amon-Ra guy, but I know that this is pretty good value. So I'm leaning him. I also like Deshaun Watson here. I think Deshaun Watson is going to rebound at very worst as a top 8 quarterback this year. And we know historically he's awesome, right? Any time that he's played a full season, he's been a top 5 quarterback in fantasy. So he's kind of on my short list. Obviously, I love Bryce Young, but I'm not with what's on the board here. Probably going to wait. Crunch time. I'm going to take Amon-Ra. It's totally against my brand there, but I have a feeling no arguments from you on that one.
Nope, not at all. I mean, I was considering him, at the 2-3. I think he's definitely a receiver I love to build around as my wide receiver 1. I would feel comfortable for that going forward, I think here, oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, I think Kyler Murray's ADP is broken saying he's the 42nd overall player in Dynasty. I'll take my top 5 quarterback. He's still a top 5 quarterback when he plays. So I'm gonna take him here, and I'll be patient with my strategy here. And I think this is my favorite draft pick this year is taking Kyler Murray in the 3rd round. I think he's just so undervalued. He was going in the mid-first last year, and just because he's gonna miss a couple games this year, he's dropped 2 rounds in startup value. And I think for a 25-year-old quarterback, that's a little absurd. So I'm going to take Kyler here and not really question it.
Yeah, you love Kyler, and I'm not surprised to see you make that pick at all. I had a sneaking suspicion he would be your guy. I was kind of hoping that either Bryce Young or Mark Andrews would make it to my pick here. Bryce Young was probably an optimistic kind of projection there. But Mark Andrews, I thought, was well within the range of possibilities. Looking at the receiver list, T. Higgins, I would love to pair T. Higgins with Amon-Ra St. Brown, but I also know that if I don't take Dak Prescott here, I'm going to have to punt on quarterback. So it's a risk, but I'm going to punt on quarterback. I'm going to take T and see what happens at the 4-5.
And that's what I thought you were going to do. So when you started saying you were going to take Dak, I was a little bit surprised. But yeah, I'm glad to see you went with the stack there. I like taking T and Burrow. That's a good start.
Yeah. That's the thing. Stacking these two up, and I know there's a lot of questions. Is T going to be in Cincinnati this time, even next year? Right? I think he will. I think they're going to hit him with a pretty big contract extension. They're going to figure out a way to keep him, Chase, and Burrow together because that trio. I mean, there is no trio like that in the NFL right now. They are just that good together. So big fan with my start here. Tua, not a consideration for me. I understand at 4-5, it's not terrible value, but his health concerns scare me. Nothing against Tua the person, just I'm risk averse when it comes to Tua. I can't take him this early. I'm leaning Josh Jacobs because I love Josh Jacobs. He's got a solid, couple more years left in him. I think he is a top 8 or top 9 dynasty running back right now. So I'm going to take him. I'm going to hope that he can kind of find some of the production that he had in 2022, but he's gone. I mean, dude, he has been a top 13, is it? Yeah. Top 11 running back in each of the last 3 years. And then even back in his rookie season, he only played 13 games, still finishes the PPR, RB21, 64 targets in back-to-back years. And God only knows what's going to happen in Vegas this year. So I like Josh Jacobs to continue on with some top 10 production for the next couple of seasons.
Yeah, I love Josh Jacobs there. I still think he's a great value in the 4th round. Definitely, we loved him, going into last year. I know we like to brag about that call we had. And we're taking our victory laps here. I'm concerned with this spot. I mean, I don't like this area of the board. I don't like the value I'm getting versus what the guys got a couple picks before me. I think the most valuable player on the board to me is Daniel Jones. A guy who finished as a top 10 quarterback last year. So, granted, I could have had the positional value in TJ Hawkinson that I just missed out on right there. I think I'm going to be okay with it and just secure myself another quarterback and hold that value. And to round off the turn, I'm going to stay youthful as always. And it's a coin flip between Jordan Addison and Quentin Johnston for me. I think in this case, I'll take Jordan Addison because why not, right?
Well, I was hoping Jordan Addison was going to fall to me at 5'8" because I genuinely think that he's going to have a really big rookie year. And not that I'm saying I would take him over JSN in rookie drafts because I probably wouldn't. But I think this time next year, people are going to be wondering why they didn't take Addison over JSN in rookie drafts. I think JSN is going to have the better longevity, better career, but I think Addison's going to be the better rookie play, and that's going to bring up some recency bias in a lot of people. But moving on to my pick here, I got 30 seconds on the clock. Christian Watson, I have no interest in. If you want my thoughts on that, look at any other video on this channel. I'm just not a Watson fan. It is what it is. Javonte, I don't necessarily trust him to be ready for me in 2023, and I'm building a contending roster. So I need someone that's going to help me immediately, right? It's tough, but I'm stuck, but I only got 5 seconds left, so I'm going to do this on a whim. I'm taking Dameon Pierce, and I think taking Dameon Pierce at 5'8" is a little bit earlier than I'd like to, but Houston likes him. They didn't bring in any real competition. I know they brought in Devin Singletary, but he's 5'7", 180 pounds. Or 190 pounds, whatever he is. I'm not worried about that. Dameon Pierce was a 1,000-yard rusher as a rookie. CJ Stroud's coming in. This is going to be, a short pass / running offense in 2023. I think he's going to build off a strong season, be a pretty solid RB2 for me. Now at 6'5" here, I think at 6'5", actually I have a pretty easy decision to make here. I'm going to go with Dallas Goedert. I'm a big believer in grabbing a cornerstone tight end for your dynasty squad. And I don't necessarily know if Goddard fits the quote unquote cornerstone tag, but he's pretty damn close to it, right? He was amazing when he was healthy last year. Keywords when he was healthy. But Tight end 12 overall in only 12 games. Year before that, tight end 11 in only 15 games. There's a lot to like about him. He is, outside of A.J. Brown, the #1 red zone target for Jalen Hurts. Catches a lot of ball in between the 20s, and I'm pretty happy with the start that I have here.
Yeah, I think even though it's a crowded offense, Dallas Goedert didn't get his piece, and Dameon Pierce, they didn't really bring in much competition for him. Yeah, another spot where I'm not really loving the board. I wouldn't love going running back here. I feel like either any of them are a reach. All right, yeah, I'm gonna go with the guy who's at the very top of the ADP, Treylon Burks. He was, a guy who's supremely talented. A lot of people thought he was, the wide receiver one coming out, a year before he was drafted. He was projected to be, that guy in his rookie class, even though he did not turn out to be yet. I think there's just no target competition at all for him in that offense. And my fourth wide receiver, I'm going to say sorry to you, but he's not falling into your lap at the 7-8 is going to be Brandon Ayuk, a guy who we don't think belongs on the board here at the 7-3 when he, finished as a top 15 receiver last year. He's only 25 years old, can fit almost any roster, and is going to be a pretty reliable piece regardless of who's throwing the football in that offense. He's going to be in your lineup every week. So I love taking Brandon Ayuk this late. I think it's a real good value, and I'm sure you agree.
Yeah, completely agree. You'll never hear me argue about Brandon Ayuk. I think anytime you can get Brandon Ayuk in the 7th round, that's considered a steal. I would have considered him at the 6-5 for what it's worth, right? If Dallas Goedert wasn't there, I think Ayuk would have been on my short list. Now I'm looking at this here. There is a team 3. They still need their QB2, and I don't want to risk losing my guy to them. So I'm going to take Geno Smith. I have really come around to Geno Smith over the last several weeks. Top 5 quarterback, fantasy finish last year. They brought in JSN. They brought in Zach Charbonnet. They beefed up the offensive line. I mean, Geno Smith is a risk as my QB2, yes, but if he finishes even as a top 8 quarterback this year, or even top 10, right, people are going to have to start putting some respect on Geno Smith's name, because this is showing that, hey, he might be here to stay. He's got a really good offense around him. He has a coaching staff that believes in him, and he just got a new contract this offseason. I know it's only for a couple of years, but follow the money. Geno Smith is a solid QB2 whenever you punt the position in Superflex formats, mark my words. But pick 805. I have no idea what I want to do here. I don't really like any of these running backs. I think it's too early to take Christian Kirk because it's kind of Calvin Ridley's there, right? And Christian Kirk's not the wide receiver one anymore immediately. So our video froze up there for a second. So sorry if there's a little skip here because I had to do some editing. But I took Deontay Johnson. Dude is, for lack of a better terms, I mean, he's a stud. Over 144 targets each of the last 3 years. Kenny Pickett had a slow rookie year. And, I mean, dude, even if Kenny Pickett just improves by 20 or 30%, Deontay Johnson's going to have himself a nice year. He's had 5 touchdowns, 7 touchdowns, and 8 touchdowns over the first 3 years of his career. I know that 0 touchdowns last year is not ideal, but positive regression is coming. Even if he has 5 or 6 touchdowns, he's going to be back to being a top 22 wide receiver.
Yeah, I like Deontay there. I mean, the entire Pittsburgh offense went down in touchdowns last year because, Kenny Pickett took over. So, I mean, it's not a shocker when you get a rookie quarterback who's, supposed to be a pocket passer. They're not going to be successful right away, typically. Here, I'm gonna go for it, and I'm gonna go for the running back room, and I'm gonna start with Aaron Jones here. I'm gonna really love it. I'm gonna love what falls around to me, because I think that going with Aaron Jones and Dalvin Cook to lead my running back room after how strong I feel like my receiving room and quarterback room is, I feel like I'm in a great spot now to definitely contend, especially with Daniel Jones being that filler until Kyler Murray gets back. And then even just finding whatever value I can get from a tier down there later on in the season. I think my team is built to win now and later without having to give up any picks. So I like how that turned out for me.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic value. I know as of the time we're recording this video, we don't know where Dalvin Cook is going to land, but combining these two together, I mean, hey, if you had this roster 2 years ago, you'd probably have the best running back room in the entire league, right? But My pick 908 here, I need a flex option. And part of me is tempted to go with Kendre Miller. I do believe in him. I think he's going to be a really solid running back in New Orleans, but I don't know if it's going to happen in 2023. I'm building a contender. I want guys that I can use this year. So I'm going to go for a guy that has a mixture of immediate value and dynasty value, and Alexander Madison. I never thought I would be the guy taking Alexander Madison in the 9th round of a dynasty startup, right? But he's only 24 years old. Like we just mentioned, Dalvin Cook is gone, and he's going to – I mean, he is the only running back on that roster as of the time of this recording, right? I know there's Ty Chandler. I know there's Dwayne McBride, but, I mean, dude, they're like day 3 guys that really aren't going to see the field all too much. So lots to like about Alexander Madison. You know, we've seen spurts of it over the first few years of his career, and he's got the youth to boot. So we'll see. I'm perfectly content with having him as my RB3 there. Let's see what else we have going on here. See, now I'm kind of in a similar situation to you. I don't really love what the board is presenting to me. I'm going to skip past the ADP here. I'm not taking a second tight end. I don't want to take a rookie wide receiver. As much as I do like Jonathan Mingo and Rashee Rice and Josh Downs, I'm not going to take a rookie wide receiver here with how I'm building this team. I'm stuck between 2 guys, but I'm going to take the one that we've seen production from. I was stuck between Gabe Davis and Elijah Moore, but I'm going to take Gabe Davis, maybe a slight reach in round 10. But as long as DeAndre Hopkins doesn't get brought into Buffalo, I think that Gabe Davis is turning into a tremendous value this time. Because last year he was going, like round 5 or round 6 of startups. Here in round 10, I'm happy with taking him. He's got boomer bust potential. There's going to be plenty of weeks where he gets me 4 or 5 points, but there's also going to be a handful of weeks where he gets me maybe 25, and I'll be pretty pumped to get that in round 10.
Yeah, I like him as your last flex option. Gabe Davis, I mean, that's pretty much what you want is going to be that boomer bust guy. I mean, because most teams in the league are going to have 8 or 9 points in that spot, and you're going to either have 0 or you're going to have, 18 to 20 points. So I do like that Gabe Davis pick there. Here, I'm going to I think this actually works out perfectly. I'm glad this happened. Evan Ingram is one of my favorite tight end values this year. Because I think that offense is just going to get better, and I don't think that. I mean, his target share wasn't like beyond like perception last year. He only got 98 targets to begin with, and still finished as a top 5 tight end option. And I think having Trevor Lawrence fits perfectly for my roster, and I'm going to take him here. Just going to make sense, and regardless of whether I had Trevor Lawrence or not, I was probably going to take him there. I love that value on Evan Ingram, and here I would love to get a running back that I think would matter, but I don't think any of them do. So I'm caught between Ty Lockett and Juju. I think Juju is in probably the best situation that he's been in, or the most similar situation that he's been in since he was the most successful in Pittsburgh with Big Ben early on in his career. And I think he's probably got the most security going forward between the two. So I'm going to stick here and go with Juju, even though I'll probably regret it. I don't think many people would go with Juju over Tyler Lockett, but I think he got a decent contract over there in New England, and he's pretty much the wide receiver 1 at this moment in time. And yeah, I'm gonna go with it and stick with my gut here.
I like it. I like it a lot. I'm not going to fault you for taking Juju over Tyler Lockett, because I think I did that exact same thing in our real startup a few weeks ago. I was considering between Juju and Lockett, and I broke it down. Lockett might have, some more appeal in 2023, but if Juju can find it again, he's the undisputed wide receiver 1 in New England. So you never know. Juju, I'm not saying he's going to be, but you mentioned it to me in a text message. Juju could be a league winner this year, right? So I'll let you take credit for that. Plus, I don't want that on my conscience. But
I've been saying that every year for the last 4 years. So if I run from right 1 year, I'll take it.
That's true. That's true. All right. So I'm stuck between Dalton Schultz and Chiggy Okonkwo. I'm running out of time. Oh, shoot. I'm going to take Dalton Schultz. Very close for me between those two, and probably a little bit earlier than I wanted to take my tight end too. But with how the board is looking, I had to. We've seen Dalton Schultz do it before just a couple of seasons ago. He is good, and he just signed in Houston. What do rookie quarterbacks love doing? They love checking it down to their safe option. That's going to be Dalton Schultz for CJ Stroud, and I think he could see a resurgence this year. I'll probably use him in 2023, and then by the end of the year, I'll ship him off for a profit after he puts out a half-decent year while CJ Stroud is figuring it out. So I like that there. Now, in round 12, looking at the board, there's not a ton of things on here, not a ton of players on here, I should say, that really help the vision. But I'm going to take a risk. I'm going to take Michael Thomas. And it's gross. I will admit it. It's gross taking Michael Thomas. And even round 12, a little early. But, I mean, dude, he's got to put it together again eventually, right? Like, just 3 or 4 years ago, he was the overall wide receiver 1. And it's not like when he steps on the field, he sucked. He just has not been healthy. If he can find some health in 2023, if I have him for 6 games in 2023, he can help me win a couple weeks there. So I'm going to take Michael Thomas. Hope he finds the fountain of youth in 2023. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, why not? That's the highest ceiling you're going to get here in the 12th round. I can't blame you there. It's not necessarily on my radar most of the time. But yeah, in this case, there's no better flyer that you could probably have. I'm looking here. I think I have to go running back here. It's a pretty glaring need. And I'm going to go with a guy who I drafted a lot in best ball this year, Chase Brown. I think he's got a pretty clear path to a workload if, Joe Mixon, gets himself in jail or whatever, suspended or anything like that. I think he could find some startable weeks. And there's also a chance that, Joe Mixon could just fade off and Chase Brown could just get a realistic workload here. And then the other one I'm going to go with is a guy who I think is definitely going to get a workload in Denver is Samaje Perine. It might be a little bit of an overdraft. There's probably some more valuable guys on the board, but just in terms of like knowing that I'm going to get some production out of the running back position early on in the season before Javonte really gets back and gets up to speed, I'm going to take that here because I think it's probably about similar value to what you would get with a Rashad Penny or a Damian Harris or Algier. I think he's gonna have probably more production this year than Tyler Algier, who went a little bit earlier. So I'm fine with Samaje Perine here.
Well, it sucks that you took Perine because I was either going to take him or Damian Harris. So I don't fault you for the pick at all. And you take him. Damian Harris goes the pick before me. So I was going to wait until the 14th round to make this pick, but I mean, hey, when in Rome, both of my guys got picked. We might as well take him now. I'm taking Sam Howell. He probably would fall to me in round 14, but I don't care. I'm taking him here. More than happy to have him as my QB3. I think it's a really big deal to have 3 starting quarterbacks on your roster in a Superflex startup because think about it. Everybody gets at least 2, right? In a perfect world, everybody gets at least 2. And then there's only 8 left over, which means there's going to be minimum 4 people in your league that only have 2 NFL starting quarterbacks on their team. And I never like to be one of those people because if something happens to Burrow or if something happens to Geno Smith, my quarterback options obviously suffer a lot. I'm a big believer in Sam Howell. He was arguably my favorite rookie quarterback this time last year. Fell to the 5th round. Didn't think he should have fallen in the 5th round. One of our previous videos, I really go into detail about Sam Howell. So I'll link that in the description if you want to hear more thoughts on Sam Howell that I have. But I'm going to move on. Shoot, I'm running out of time here, aren't I? I am. I'm going to take you know what? I'm going to take Odell Beckham. It's gross. Same exact reason why I took Michael Thomas. He's good. He's just not healthy. If he can put something together in 2023, I'm going to be happy with it. The reason being is because I like my team. I do. But I'm not completely sold on all of my flex options. Like Deontay Johnson needs to get in the end zone again. Is he going to do it? I think so. But will he? To be determined. Alexander Madison, they could sign a vet, and he could be an RB2. And then Gabe Davis is boomer bust as well. So Michael Thomas and OBJ, I'm happy to get on my bench to fill in as I need them.
Yeah, any one of those Baltimore receivers is viable. Sorry, I was just looking at our other leagues. You were just going on that quarterback spiel. Your quarterback room is, Jalen Hurts, Geno, and then Zach Wilson. So if you need a QB3, Daniel Jones and Trey Lance are on the block there. I'm going to go with Tank Dell here because I think that he is a rookie who people have heard about that CJ Stroud might like, and I don't know. I like him there. Why not? It's the 14th round, right? And to round it off, I'll go with a tight end too. A guy who really probably shouldn't go here, but I think he's just worth mentioning that. I think he's undervalued. Gerald Everett, I think, had a really respectable year last year and is startable if you punt the tight end position. So I'm going to take him as my tight end too because he feels safe. and feels like a guy who's going to be at least on the field for the most part.
Yeah, I like it. I like taking Gerald Everett as a later round flyer. I know that we're in round 15 here. Obviously, most Superflex startups are probably going to have around 20 or so, but we're not going to get into those super deep rounds because you don't need to hear us talk about Jerome Ford and Zay Jones, right? Man, I really don't know what I want to do here because I feel like I need another running back because I have Jacobs, Pierce, and Madison. I don't love having only 3 running backs through 15 rounds, but I also don't love what's available on the board at the moment, right? So I'm going to – do I want another safe? Do I want a safe option? I do. I've taken a lot of risks with my wide receiver room, especially with OBJ, Michael Thomas, and Gabe Davis. This guy is not the youngest in the room, but he is Mr. Consistency, and it gives me another Cincinnati Bengals wide receiver. I'm going to take Tyler Boyd. Again, not my favorite pick that I could have had in round 15, but I have Joe Burrow, I have T. Higgins, and I need some consistency in this room, and I think I'll find that in Tyler Boyd. So that's going to conclude our drafts here. Now let's take a look at these teams. Let me minimize this so we can get the full picture here. So Tyler, let's look at your team first. Now, obviously in a startup draft, a big believer, you and I are both massive believers in trading during the startup draft. Not trading in your startup draft, huge waste of potential. Won't get too into that, but just know if you're in a startup draft and you're not trading, you're not trying hard enough. You're perfectly content with just being okay in this league, right? Pick a direction, go in it, make your trades. With that being said, let's look at your team. So how do you feel about your first 4 round start there? Are you happy that you have, that you went for Kyler Murray at 303, or knowing that you got Danny Jones at 410, do you wish you would have went a different route at 3-3?
I don't regret it at all. I don't care. I think Kyler Murray was more valuable than Jahmyr Gibbs, Kenny Walker, Austin Eckler, Mark Andrews, T. Higgins, Dak Prescott, Cooper Kupp, Saquon Barkley, any of those guys. Doesn't matter to me. I think Kyler Murray is more valuable than all those guys. I think Daniel Jones is more valuable than T.J. Hawkinson, Najee, Ramondre. I'm comfortable with taking both of those guys in the top 4 round. I'm more than fine with having a good problem in my quarterback room. That's a problem I'm fine with having.
I like your roster. You're always taking Kyler Murray, and whenever we do startups together, whether it's mock or real life, you always seem to be the guy taking Kyler Murray. And at this moment in time, I can never get behind it. But I know this time next year, I'm going to be jealous of you in these leagues, right? Because you're going to have the stack of Kyler Murray and Trevor Lawrence, or so on and so forth, guys like that. So I'm going to let you do your thing with that one, right? Now, I will say this. I love the rest of your roster makeup. I absolutely love it. You have A.J. Brown and Brandon Ayuk and Jordan Addison and Treylon Burks. It's a young receiving core. All of those guys are 25 or younger. All of those guys have either hit their ceiling or have a sky-high ceiling, right? Everyone this time last year, we're talking Treylon Burks could be a top 10, top 12 dynasty wide receiver. I'm a firm believer that Jordan Addison, his floor is like wide receiver 15 or 16 in dynasty. And then obviously that's about where I have Brandon Ayuk. And then A.J. Brown's a top 5 guy anyway. But I like that you went young upside wide receivers, and then you stacked your running back room with the old guys, Aaron Jones and Dalvin Cook, because, I mean, dude, when you're recycling a dynasty roster, the first thing that you get rid of, or the first thing that you realize you have to buy, usually running backs, right? So I kind of really like what you've done with this room.
Yeah, I think I pretty much set it up to go into the season. I definitely like where my wide receiver room is at. I love having A.J. Brown as my top option. He's young enough to the point where I'm not worried about him aging yet, and he's also going to put up a massive amount of points. I'm in a spot also where, I'm dominating, I think I'm dominating the quarterback market. I have 3 guys who in 2024 could finish as top 10 quarterbacks. And I mean, in terms of this year, they could all 3 could finish in top 10 in terms of points per game once Kyler Murray gets back. So I definitely love where I'm at in terms of value, love what it's set up to do, and love the insulation and just terms of, like, I don't feel like any of these guys are really, like, none of them are really going to have a value crater anytime soon. Like, there's really not much that Jordan Addison could do to tank his value at this point. I mean, I guess Treylon Burks, if he comes out and does absolutely nothing this year and is healthy, or I mean, if he comes out and gets hurt, then I guess that could tank his value. But everybody else, like, I feel fine about. I mean, if Aaron Jones and Dalvin Cook die on my roster, it's fine. I'll just keep drafting running backs because I still have all my future draft capital because it was a mock draft.
Yeah, there you go. No, I like it a lot. Your tight end room, I mean, could be stronger, but again, Evan Ingram had a pretty good resurgence in 2022, and nothing wrong with having that stack at all. I like having at least one stack on my roster, and if I'm going to have any stack in your shoes, it's probably going to be T-Law to one of his receivers, right? So I like that call there. Looking at my team, I have some regrets. I do. I will admit that. Maybe it's because we were doing rapid fire. We only had 1 minute on the clock. I didn't think it through as much as I should have. Other rule of thumb: if you're in a dynasty startup, don't do 1 minute clocks. This was brutal. But I regret taking Dameon Pierce where I did, because I'm looking at the draft board here, and anyone who knows me knows I'm a big fan of Miles Sanders. I could have easily gotten Miles Sanders at 6'5". I would take George Kittle over Dallas Goedert pretty much any day. And Miles Sanders and Dameon Pierce are neck and neck in my dynasty ranking. So I think looking back at this, I wish I would have gone Kittle at 5'8" and then taken a guy like Miles Sanders at 6'5". But overall, I'm not going to complain too much. It's still pretty similar. And Dallas Goedert, at least he's on the field a little bit more than George Kittle, right? So I can find some solstice in that.
Yeah, other than that, I mean, I think your lineup is great. You know, I mean, I think it's built exactly how you want it. I mean, you have Josh Jacobs who's going to smash this year. If you had Miles Sanders, I think Miles Sanders and Dameon Pierce are probably going to put pretty similar numbers up this year. So it's not that big of a difference in my eyes. But you're right. I think George Kittle to Dallas Goedert is a pretty big jump. But then you have, you know, those two young studs at receivers that you have. Love that. And then, you know, your flex options, Deontay is Mr. Reliable in terms of how many targets he's going to get. Alexander Madison's going to get a ton of work, and Gabe Davis is high upside. So, I mean, I love the way that the roster is constructed. I would obviously, I'm one who prefers to like solidify the quarterback room right away for a long-term point, because I don't want to be drafting quarterbacks through the rookie draft. I think that's tough to do and tough to evaluate them that way. And when I get the chance to do it in a startup, I'd rather just take them there when I know they're going to be good. But other than that, yeah, I really like how it's constructed, and it's ready to win right now. That's for sure.
I think my toxic trait is starting to be a little too high on Geno Smith. And I could look like, I mean, if Geno Smith can do what he did in 2022, this upcoming season, he's going to make me look really good, right? But if he doesn't live up to expectations, if he goes back to being the Geno that we know, he's going to make me look like an idiot. Because I don't view a massive drop-off from Deshaun Watson to Geno Smith. I really don't. And Deshaun Watson probably would have been my pick at 208 if I didn't go with Amon-Ra at wide receiver. But I really think Geno Smith is going to put up some solid production. So it's been my toxic trait all offseason, right? Especially recently, as I wait for my QB2 unless somebody falls to me in the second that shouldn't. But other than that, I do like the roster. I like it a lot. My receiver room, I would like to be a little bit younger for sure, but at least my core with Amon-Ra, T, and Deontay, nice and young. I mean, Gabe Davis is a younger guy too, but he's kind of touch and go. But yeah, Michael Thomas, OBJ, Tyler Boyd, that's probably the oldest trio on anybody's roster right now.
Yeah, but that's like an awesome like bench to have. It's like if one of those guys even puts up, you know, 7-8 games of, you know, the 17 to 18 points per game that you're looking for, it's like such a huge win in terms of what you paid for them. So I definitely like what you did in the later rounds there, and that you stuck to a strategy. So yeah, I definitely like the way that it panned out, even though, like you said, you could have gone different in a couple different spots, but nothing I would really bat an eye over.
Now, before we wrap up this video, I want to look at Team 6 because it's really intriguing, and it won't let me click on it. But Team 6, right next to mine here. When you go Justin Jefferson in the first round, and I think at 1-6 or even 1-5, that's where I consider to go Justin Jefferson. I wouldn't take him over Mahomes, Allen Hurts, or Burrow, but I do strongly consider him over Herbert, Lamar Jackson, Justin Fields, T. Law. Like, I like Justin Jefferson. I like him a lot. Maybe this is me talking because I don't have Jefferson anywhere, so I'm desperate to get him in a startup. But 106, that's where I get comfortable. Now, this, I imagine, is a semi-popular build, right? If you go Justin Jefferson, obviously you punt on the quarterback position. I think ideally, if I was the one that drafted Justin Jefferson at 106, I would have taken Deshaun Watson at 207 to be safe there. But looking at this roster, right, you go for guys like Jefferson. You go for guys like Waddles, Mark Andrews. That's a phenomenal trio to have. But then you look at the running back and the quarterback room. Like, realistically, if you start with Justin Jefferson and you punt the quarterback position down to where you're looking at Kenny Pickett and Derek Carr, and your running back room is Pacheco, Brian Robinson, Damian Harris, I don't really see the point in taking a guy like Jefferson at that point because you're not in a contending window. And like, what are you going to do? You're just going to hold him for the next 3 years just so no one else can have him in the league? Like, like, Tyler, if this was your team, what would your plan be after this draft?
I mean, right now I would be selling TJ Moore. I mean, I don't know. I guess you're just dominating the wide receiver market, but you can't even like start them all. So it's at this point, I don't like drafting this way because you're gonna have to be consolidating. You're gonna have to be trading. Like, can I trade Michael Pittman, Drake London, and I don't know, like Kenny Pickett for Trey Lance and Kirk Cousins, or Trey Lance and Jared Goff? Like, you're gonna need two quarterbacks. Like, I don't know. There's plenty of value. Granted, I don't know. I guess you could start Derek Carr. It's such a weird build. I wouldn't be concerned because you have plenty of value. Like, the core of Jefferson, Waddle, and London, and then having Pittman as your wide receiver 4 is really awesome. But like, I don't feel safe about having Kenny Pickett and Derek Carr as my quarterback room. I'm going to be getting dominated. That's going to be like a 20-point disadvantage every week to these teams who have 2 top 10 quarterbacks. So I'm going to want to be consolidating those guys and hope that somebody will give me a quarterback without me giving them one. Like, it's going to be in a tough spot. You're going to have to find like a perfect deal with someone that just happens to work out where they have an extra quarterback but you're going to have to pay a price. So, like, they're not just going to give it to you for a fair deal. They're going to gut you. And that's what's going to happen. Like, if they come to me with an offer, if they say, hey, I'll give you Drake London, Michael Pittman, and DJ Moore for Daniel Jones, I'll say, like, no, how's this? I'll give you Kyler Murray and Daniel Jones for Justin Jefferson. Like, and then give me your first round pick too, because you need it. Like, that's how I'm going to leverage it to you. Like, you're the one who needs the deal. I don't. So I don't like building my roster this way where I have to go and make a trade.
Yeah, I completely agree. And that's kind of why I wanted to point this one out. It's just like, obviously, if there's value on the board, yeah, take it. But you need to be careful when doing things. Like Jefferson at 106, that's fair value. Jalen Waddle at 207, that's fair value. I think that's a pretty good spot to get in. Even Mark Andrews at 307. Like, independently, I'm fine with Jefferson at 6, Waddle at 207, Andrews at 307. I like all 3 of those picks. But you need to pick a direction. And I know this is just a computer drafter, so I know we're yelling at nobody right now. But you need to pick a direction, and you need to stick with it. And whatever you do, don't punt on quarterbacks for too long. If you want to take Kirk Cousins as your QB1 in round 6, that's fine. If you want to take Geno as your QB1 in round 7, that's fine, I guess. But it's such a risky game. Like, if you're going to go top heavy with your receivers and you completely punt the rest of your roster, like, you're going to be sticking yourself in a very precarious situation unless you get really, really lucky. So don't draft like team 6, whatever you do here.
Yeah, the only position I'm comfortable like really hoarding like this guy did, it would be quarterback. Like, I would be fine. Like, I wouldn't have been mad at myself if I took Trey Lance over Brandon Ayuk at 7-3, because the upside Trey Lance has is immense, and quarterbacks are scarce in this league. Or like, even if Kirk Cousins fell to the 6-10, like, I could have taken Kirk Cousins there and like looked for trade value. But like, everybody needs quarterbacks. Not everybody is going to be like dying to go out and get Michael Pittman and DJ Moore off of your roster. And you're not going to be excited to be going to send them Drake London and Jalen Waddle for a quarterback. So Putting yourself in that spot kind of like gives up a lot of leverage when you have the bunch of pennies that everybody's looking for when I have the two dimes, you know.
Absolutely. No, I love everything that you just pointed out there. But that's going to do it for us here on Goal Line Dynasty today. Thanks for tuning in. Let us know in the comments if you like my team or if you like Tyler's team better. If you want to be nice, you can lie and say that it was Tyler's team. I won't take any offense to it. I get it. But yeah, buddy, before we get going, any closing remarks?
No, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know why my team's better than Mikey's. He said he agreed to it already, so he's not going to be upset.
Well, for myself, for Tyler, for Goal Line Dynasty, we will see you next time.